call the Board of Supervisors to order. Mr. Hohen, may I have a roll call, please?
Supervisor Giomi.
Here.
Supervisor White. Here. Supervisor Horton. Here. Supervisor Schutte.
Here.
Mayor Bagwell.
Here.
You have your quorum.
Thank you. We'll move to our invocation, and I saw Brady just a moment ago. Come and get us started.
Let's pray. God, we thank you so much for your wonderful works and your ways. We thank you that you are the provider and the one who has sovereign hand over all things. God, we pray that today, through hearts of generosity and kindness, we're able to lead a community and better the community for the people and the surrounding areas. Father, I pray that decisions are made which develop and edify our community, Lord. And I thank you for what seems like many officers and deputies which are being honored today, God. I thank you so much for all first responders, anybody else that helps protect our community and creates a space that is safe and good for our families to develop. God, we thank you for who you are and what you do. We praise you. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you so much. Jeannie, would you do us the honor of leading the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you so much. We are at agenda item 5, which is our opening public comment. Did we have anyone sign up, Ms. Hicks? Yes? No? One? Okay. Oh, Mr. Wait, 5. Mr. Rybar? Oh, I'm sorry, I can't read which point you wanted to do it. I apologize if I'm not reading that right, but Mr. Rybar? Okay, thank you. Green, there you go.
Good morning. My name is Drew Rebar. I'm a local businessman. I've been a political candidate in the last cycle, and I'm also a political activist at this point in time. I came to let you guys know, Madam Mayor, Supervisors, City Manager, Mr. Hohen, this is particularly pertinent to the City Manager. Carson City has a problem. Carson City does not honor our constitutional rights. I, as a businessman, in my life had never been arrested before Carson City sheriffs arrested me. There is a current lawsuit in federal court. The First Amendment complaint has just been accepted. That's included some other deputies, Sergeant Boggins specifically, that detained me unlawfully for recording in public. Recently at the farmer's market 2 weeks ago, what was it, July 6th, I was there and I went down there to see what was happening and show the world. And the people at the farmer's market called the sheriff on me, and 2 deputies came out and they unlawfully detained me for recording and trespassed me from the farmer's market in the public park, a traditional public forum. You all know what a traditional public forum is. It's where our constitutional rights for free speech, freedom of press, they're the strongest there. I was detained for over, I'd guess, about a half an hour, standing in the hot sun, while Sergeant Gomes investigated the incident, and subsequently I was released from my unlawful detention. So I'm going to amend my complaint again, but you guys have some issues. Now, the other issue that goes along with this, and I've heard it from a lot of other members in our community because they reach out to me, is not only am I the only one that's being unlawfully arrested by our deputies and constitutional rights violated, but public records requests. I've had many, many public records requests that I've submitted to Carson City to find out what's going on with my government, our government, and Carson City routinely makes up ways to deny them. The latest one that was actually answered is with regards to who held the permit at the public park that you all approved, who held that permit. And initially, they denied me and said that that public permit to operate the farmer's market was private information. How the heck can a public permit to operate in a public park be private? You guys need to look into things. I'm looking into things. And I will be running for another office in this next upcoming election cycle. So I look forward to sharing a stage with all of you guys so we can talk about the problems in our government and how we can solve them. Thank you very much. Drew Rebar for the record.
Thank you. I don't have anyone else signed up for public comment, but is there anyone that didn't sign up? Okay, then we're going to move to agenda item 6, which is approval of our minutes of June 20th. Did anyone have any corrections or changes? If not, I'll accept a motion for approval, please.
I move to approve the Carson City Board of Supervisors meeting minutes of June 20th, 2025 as presented.
I have a motion and a second for approval. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, say no. Let the record reflect it was unanimous. We're now going to go on to our special presentations. So we're going to do agenda items 7A and B from the floor. So please join me.
Sorry, thank you.
Ooh, we got a stack of them. We must have had a big hiring practice at a point in time, huh? Okay, how about we start with Michael Gerald, Deputy Sheriff. Is this right? 10 years? Gosh darn. You're wonderful. Thank you for all your hard work and service. We really appreciate it. And you're the anointed one.
Yes, I am. Thank you very much. So this deputy here has been with us for 10 years. He is an amazing worker, and you're going to see that he has a new smile on his face even after 10 years because he's one of our newest canine handlers, and that means yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, that means we've got him for, gosh, 7, 8 more years, and then the next dog is another 7, 8 more years, right? So that really invigorates someone's career, and he has a new partner going forward, and we're really excited to see both of them continue on with their career. So congratulations on both of those. Thank you.
You've got the next one too. We're on a roll here with the deputy sheriffs. Come on, Kyle Smith, 10 years.
Oh, no, you got to stay up here. Yeah.
You gotta wait for a picture so that we know what happens, right?
No worries. Come on up, Kyle.
Is that yourself?
It is.
Oh,
Yeah.
come on with Dad.
You want to come up here?
Got that cool shark cap.
No.
Thank you so much for your service and for raising your family here.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Yeah. So Kyle also has been here for 10 years, and one of the things that he's done to keep his great attitude, he's really worked on his wellness, and wellness is all over, not just physical, mental, and spiritual, but also one of the things that he's done is really represented us well in the jail, and he's one of our best field training officers or jail training officers. He has trained 30 of our deputies going through. Actually, I'm going to say even more than 30 by now. And that means that pretty much everyone that you're coming across the street, this guy has touched. And so when you come across a great deputy, Kyle has something to do with it. So thank you for everything, Kyle.
You have more? Let me just get his
No,
stuff
ma'am.
done. Boy, look at all these. Some rock stars. Okay, that's all for yours, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. How about, this one I really can't believe. How about Malaya Gonzalez? I thought it was a typo. 20 years. 20 years. Thank you so much for all you do. Really. That is still unbelievable to me. Judge?
Good morning. So I have to extend tremendous thanks to Malaya Gonzalez for all the work that she does for the courts. She began her career in Carson City in 2005. I was already here at that time, but she was starting in Department of Alternative Sentencing, and she worked there in various positions, both here and Douglas County. Until 2010, she was selected by Judge Wilson to be his bailiff in the First Judicial District Court. She served in that role until Judge Wilson retired in 2024, and then she became my bailiff. And she was tremendous as it relates to my transition from Justice Court to District Court because the case types that we handle are very different. She knew the proceedings, she knew how things went, and she was great at assisting me in that transition and giving me guidance and tips in terms of how to address certain things. So she agreed to stay on as my bailiff, and it's been tremendous. She has, I have to point out a few things. Every time we have a jury trial, the jurors compliment her tremendously in terms of her interactions with them, her ability to entertain them, keep them safe, show them where all the points of exit are and what they need to do if anything were to happen. As it relates to our regular court proceedings, she has some very awesome capabilities. The uncanny ability to identify people who might be under the influence of a controlled substance or having used prior to court. She gets them tested. We address those things. We've had to continue numerous hearings because of it, because you don't want to go forward with someone who's not completely sober. She also has a tremendous ability to de-escalate situations and individuals who come to court with a lot of angst and emotion. She communicates with them before I come in, tries to calm them down, brings them paper, water, whatever they need. She just identifies those issues. She's also got great mediation and resolution skills when I've taken breaks from court to let parties talk about an issue before I come back in. To my surprise, the case is completely resolved by the time I get back in there because we've got the little whisperer over here. Recently, we have undertaken to communicate with the National Center for State Courts to address security in the courthouse because it was an important need, and we've grown to a point where it wasn't manageable the way it was currently structured. Malaya, along with our other bailiffs and marshals, have contributed to what the court needs in terms of court security. We held interviews to address security internally within the court, and Malaya was part of that move to maybe have the marshals and bailiffs address that themselves. So she was part of that coordinated effort, and she was just recently promoted to our senior bailiff beginning July 25th. So it would be nice. I know at some point in time she bought some time, but hopefully she'll stay beyond that. You know, her talents are going to be well utilized in the new role. Her experience and time just in the position and in the courthouse is tremendously valuable to everybody. So I know she's going to do well in that role and serve the courts well. I'm going to miss her. And Malaya and I have an interesting history before coming together in the roles that we're in, and it's been a tremendous benefit to have her in the role, and I'm grateful for the relationship that we've had.
It's been wonderful. Thanks, Judge. All right. Okay. How about Lorena Garcia, another Gonzalez, our youth advisor of 15 years. I'll just start with this. Thank you so much for all you do. Oh, my goodness.
Oh, I'll go without.
You don't need it either?
No.
All right.
Lorena Gonzalez. Well, everybody knows coffee. In case you don't know me, I'm Frank. Lorena and I have been working together for 15 years. I could effortlessly speak about Lorena's contributions for an hour. I won't. Time is kind of limited from what I hear.
That's okay. We'd both answer the same.
Lorena embodies the complete package. She is passionate about her job. Is that true? Okay, just making sure. She readily assists whenever and wherever needed. This includes working day shifts, sometimes returning to graveyards on short notice, as well as participating in overnight hikes with the wilderness program after completing graveyard shifts. Thank you. Having collaborated with Lorena for the past 15 years, I can identify two certainties. Her family, love for her family, and the commitment to ensuring the health, safety, and welfare of the kids in detention. I recognize Lorena as the ideal candidate for youth advisor position in our facility when she was working full-time at a women's shelter in South Lake Tahoe, as well as on call at Juvenile Detention Center. She was requested to work 3 graveyard shifts in a row, as well as working her day shifts at the detention center. She did this on short notice and without hesitation. I asked Lorena, how can she work so many hours? And we always talk about this. She responded, the individuals we serve require more assistance than I require sleep.
Oh, wow.
So, thank you, Lorena.
Yay. Thank you so much. Fantastic. Okay, how about Joan Marie Lane, our culinary coordinator 10 years? 10. Oh, only 5? Well, that means you have an opportunity for 25 more. And we'll fix this. Okay.
Thank you.
So I'm just going to leave that off because it needs a fix and we'll get it to you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Joan Marie Lane.
Oh, he doesn't need it.
She came on the day before Thanksgiving 2020, right in the midst of some tough times, I think we all remember. Joan is an exceptional staff member. You only come across once in a career. Let me allow me to explain myself on that. Prior to Joan's employment with Juvenile Services, the kids in detention center were primarily consuming a significant amount of frozen food, canned food, and processed food, mostly prepared by myself. I was hoping for a while. However, once Joan came to detention, I observed an increase of receipts, not because she was spending more money, rather than she was spending less money with significantly enhancing the quality of the meals. It seems everybody was pleased to have me out of the kitchen. Thank you.
Poor Frank.
Joan is often asked to prepare meals for juvenile service functions, such as quarterly meetings with department heads, wilderness graduation dinners. The only thing Joan asks is how many people are we feeding. I would see Joan participate in activities such as ping pong, basketball, and exercising along with the kids. Joan not only runs the kitchen, but she does preventative maintenance on all the equipment. Again, saving the detention center money. Joan, I can't thank you enough for what you do.
Now, this one, come on, Francis Ashley, 20 years. I know that. Thank you for all you do. You've been a wonderful resource for our community.
This is probably one of the best things that we get to do as a city is to recognize our staff. To date, Frances has dedicated 20 years of service to the residents of Carson City. She exhibits care and compassion with every resident she interacts with, and she strives to provide high-quality customer service. She's passionate about celebrating successes in the lives of her clients, as well as the lives of her colleagues. Frances regularly reminds all of us about the importance of celebrating one another and being creative in our recognition of special achievements. It is truly wonderful that today we get to recognize you, Frances, for all the work that you have done for Carson. Thank you for your passion to excel and for your service to the community.
Okay, and then we've got Susanna Melgarejo.
Melgarejo.
10 years.
Susanna is an outstanding staff member at the health department. During her 10 years with the city, she has served in several roles and has challenged herself to develop skills and grow to serve as our clinical services manager, which is a new position that was approved by the board. Each day, Susanna comes to work and is dedicated to both our external and internal customers. She's kind, patient, creative, solutions-oriented, thank you, and committed to helping others. She's a quiet leader in our organization. We're thrilled to have you as part of our team. Your 10 years at Carson have truly made health and human services better, and you've made my experience here in the city better. Thank you for everything you've done.
So do we have coworkers and family or anyone that wants to join in for the picture to celebrate? Come on up, because we don't have a picture by James. It's not good.
Oh, absolutely.
Little Shark's still not going to come. Nope, he's still not going to do it. All right. And again, thank you all for your service. Now, don't rush out, just so you can... We're going to go ahead and You guys can stay because celebrating staff is a great opportunity, and our next one is the employee of the quarter. So we'll do that too. Are you glad Dad has a dog? Oh, is that going to be your best friend? Yeah, I'm guessing. Let's see, did I see Jeff? Yeah, are you? Yeah, you should be up with the picture. Okay, so our next one is a celebration for our employee of the quarter. And so Miss Jackie, come on up. Yay! Thought you were going to get away with it, huh? Just because you work in a particular department, she thought maybe she'd be excused. No. So, whereas Carson City's quality of life attracts talented and loyal employees, and that's certainly Jackie. Whereas every day, Carson City employees put to use their broad array of skills and expertise with efficiency and integrity for the benefit of everyone in our city. And whereas Carson City values its employees and acknowledges that recognizing employees for their hard work and dedication is critical to the future health and growth of our city. We owe a substantial debt of gratitude to the Carson City employees and applaud those who go above and beyond in their loyalty and ability. She works extremely hard getting us the best insurance benefits. Trust me. Jackie, we work hard there. She does a great job. She's a compassionate, dedicated employee who has demonstrated commitment to the well-being of her colleagues and thereby contributes to the fulfillment of Carson City's mission, value, and statements. Now, therefore, I, Lori Bagwell, Mayor of Carson City, celebrate the dedicated accomplishments of Jackie Cassinelli in serving the community and do hereby proclaim Jackie Cassinelli to be Employee of the Quarter. Congratulations. It's really appreciated. And just, I'll let her boss just tell her hooray.
Yeah, hooray. Well, that's your job. Are you going to say? No, but this is a well-deserved award and recognition for Jackie, not only as an employee, but the person that she is. She is a dedicated employee. She is passionate, compassionate. She's empathetic. She loves her work, and it shows. And so she not only makes the HR team a wonderful place to work, but she is an example of the great place it is to work in Carson City. So she deals with some difficult things. Mayor, you said benefits, not only finding benefits and getting us good rates, but also dealing with insurance problems that employees have. But she also deals with employees that have to go out on leave, which can be difficult. And so people approach Jackie scared, not sure what to do, what's coming, not sure what's happening with their benefits, but she puts them at ease immediately, makes them feel seen, heard, and eases the tension. So she is an amazing person, amazing employee, and I am proud to say that she is part of our HR team. So congratulations, Jackie.
Congratulations. You have to look that way for a picture. Oh, you're going to present it. Oh, Elena. Oops. It's really hard because they usually do it. Okay. Nope. Do we have the HR department that's going to come get in the pic? Come on. Let's celebrate. Let's celebrate. That's what it's all about this morning. I think Jeannie said it well, right? We need opportunities. Are you all good? Perfect. And again, thank you. Yeah, but her dedication's showing. She's going right back to work. Did they all come? Oh, yes. It was. He filmed it all. Okay, we're going to now move to our consent agenda. Item 9A and 9B will be pulled from consent. But Mr. White, may I have your disclosure for item 13D, please?
Certainly. NRS 281A.420 requires me to disclose a conflict and abstain from voting when I have a disqualifying conflict. In my private capacity, I serve as president of the Nevada State Prison Preservation Society. In that unpaid volunteer position, I have a fiduciary duty to the Prison Preservation Society, just as I have a fiduciary duty to the Board of Supervisors in my role as Carson City Supervisor. The Prison Preservation Society is a party to a number of contracts executed with Simerson Construction. However, none of the work that Simerson performs for the Prison Preservation Society has any relation to Carson City, and this agenda item to consider an award of contract to Simerson is not related in any way to the Prison Preservation Society. Although I do have a commitment in a private capacity to the interests of the Prison Preservation Society, I do not have a pecuniary interest in the matter, and my independence of judgment is not materially affected by my dual fiduciary duties. I make this disclosure for full transparency, and I will be voting on this matter, and that is item 13D.
Thank you so much. Supervisor Giomi, may I have a motion for the consent, please?
I move to approve the consent agenda consisting of item 8A, 10A, 11A, 12A, 13A, 13B, 13C, 13D, and 14A, all as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any noes? Supervisor Schutte, you were yes? Okay, let the record reflect it was unanimous. Okay, we will now go to agenda item 15, which is we are going to do item 9A and 9B. 9A and 9B are both final maps and issues. So on 9A, does any member of the board have a question of Ms. Manzo? No questions. Is there any public comment on agenda item 9A? Seeing none, I'll accept a motion.
I move to approve a 3-month extension of time expiring on October 18th, 2025.
Motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, please say no.
No.
Let the record reflect it was 4 ayes, 1 no by Supervisor White. The what's not working? Oh, table. Okay. We will move to agenda item 9B. This is for AMH's NV17's development for theirs. Does any member of the board have any questions for Ms. Manzo on this project? Is there any public comment on this item? Seeing none, I'll accept a motion for approval on 9B.
I move to approve the final subdivision map as presented.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say no.
No.
Let the record reflect it was 4 ayes, 1 no by Supervisor White. Thank you. Okay, we're now going to move to agenda item 16A, which is our discussion and possible action to appoint a member to the CTA. Mr. White, may I have your disclosure, please?
Thank you again.
He's on a roll.
NRS 281A.420 requires me to disclose a conflict and abstain from voting when I have a disqualifying conflict. In my private capacity, I serve as president of the Nevada State Prison Preservation Society. In that unpaid volunteer position, I have a fiduciary duty to the Prison Preservation Society, just as I have a fiduciary duty to the Board of Supervisors in my role as Carson City Supervisor. The Prison Preservation Society engages with and retains the services of the Culture and Tourism Authority to assist with marketing and advertising efforts for the purpose of publicizing various events and functions. Here, the appointment of a new member of the Culture and Tourism Authority does not have any significant nexus to that collaborative relationship between the Prison Preservation Society and the authority. I do not have a personal pecuniary interest in this situation, and my independence of judgment is not materially affected by my dual fiduciary duties, especially since my consideration of a candidate's appointment to the Culture and Tourism Authority is driven solely by my assessment of the candidate's ability to serve Carson City without my knowledge of or factoring in anything to do with the candidate's views towards the Prison Preservation Society or the candidate's past, present, or future relationship with the Prison Preservation Society. I will take this opportunity to also note for the record that I have previously exercised my vote for the appointment of applicants to the Culture and Tourism Authority during past Board of Supervisors meeting, and I inadvertently overlooked this statement for clarity. I make this disclosure for full transparency for both this agenda item as well as for those previous occasions when I mistakenly omitted this statement. But because I have not been previously required to abstain and am not currently required to abstain from this matter, a conclusion arrived at after conferring with counsel, I will be voting on this agenda item.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to start our interview process, I think, we'll go right in order from the agenda. So do we have Mary Claire? Yep, and it's already green. Someone did that. So welcome.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for applying for this position. You've been through an appointment process before,
I
or
have
no?
not.
Okay, we're going to ask you a question or two, each of us going down the line if we'd like, and then I'll ask you to give any closing remarks of your why or anything you think we didn't ask that will help us make a decision.
Okay.
You're welcome to stay upon the completion of yours, and then we'll make the appointment after the final interview.
Okay.
Okay, so again, I just want to say thank you. And I'll start with my question. So if I can take you back in time to last winter. Visit Carson City ran a successful marketing campaign based on a short video, A Winter's Charm. Thinking about this upcoming winter, what marketing approach would you take, and how would you measure the success of the campaign?
Thank you very much for the question. I was actually very pleased to be at the premiere of A Winter's Charm. It was really fun, and I love that they leaned into the Hallmark moment, but also didn't shy away from making it a little cheesy, so it was sort of comedic. And I thought that connected really well because while Carson City is an amazing place to be and come and visit, I also don't think that the town takes itself too seriously, so I think tourists should know that. And almost immediately upon seeing that film, chatter in the audience was, we're waiting for the sequel. Absolutely. Yeah, right, because they ended it on a cliffhanger, and it was brilliant. So I would say that we need a sequel to that because we need to know where the romantic couple goes and how they resolve things. And I think that there are, while they did a really great job of highlighting some of the ways in which we can enjoy Carson City during the wintertime, I think there is, myriad ways, other ways to do that. And the way to measure that success is the marketing agency that did that, I believe, was KPS3 in concert with another group. And KPS3, I know to be an incredibly competent marketing agency, and they have at their disposal all of the ways in which to track with the analytics and where they've shown it and how it's affected. And while I am not someone who is an expert in those types of analytics, I know that they exist, and I know that KPS3 is someone who'd be very capable of providing that to the city to make further decisions for marketing campaigns.
Okay, thank you so much. Supervisor Giomi.
Hi, welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Tell me why you think it's important that the CTA have someone from the commercial interests community on their board.
I very passionately feel, well, for one, I'm a small business owner, so I'm very invested in this community just in my own life. I'm a native. I grew up here. My family's been in Nevada for many generations, so I'm very passionate about here. And I'm a small business owner. My business isn't directly related to tourism, but I believe wholeheartedly that when you make a community a place where people want to live and where businesses can thrive, when the town is a good place to be, tourism will come because word travels. If I love where I live and people come to visit me, that's tourism. And then they tell their friends, wow, my sister lives in this place and it's really cool, and let's go check it out. And they come, and that's tourism. So I think beyond the obvious, which is your hotels, your casinos, your arts events and things of that nature, I think there are second and third order effects of just having a great place to live. And so that's where other commercial interest fits in, because I think other commercial businesses can speak to how we can make Carson City as a whole just a really great place to live, and also bring possibly some outside perspective to round that out.
Thank you.
Supervisor White.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
What should the CTA be doing that it is not doing currently?
That's a phenomenal question. And from where I'm at, I think I might find it hard to answer that question, not having been a part of the CTA. I am aware of, I've been more closely involved with Visit Carson City and kind of what they're doing. And so I don't feel like I can speak perfectly to the relationship between the CTA and Visit Carson City, although I know there's oversight, and that's
It's the same.
It's the same. Okay. Honestly, I think they're doing an amazing job. And I think that partnerships with other entities that exist, like the Brewery Arts Center, like other community partners that are doing great things, the museums, the whatever, I think those types of partnerships are very successful. And I think partnering with the outlying areas, Carson Valley, Virginia City, to draw people in as a whole rather than, trying to be divisive, I think is very successful. I also have heard many people compliment the art scene in Carson City, and shocker, we have people coming from Reno to experience arts and culture down here, which I think in the past, there's always been a little barrier in Washoe Valley that people don't like to come south. I think that's happening. So not knowing the inner workings of how that's happening, I'd say they're on the right track and keep doing more of that.
Thank you.
Supervisor Horton.
Good morning.
Good morning.
What are the top 2 attractions in Carson City that bring people to visit here?
I think that also depends on age and demographic. I think that one thing I love about the city is we've done a tremendous job of building a lot of ways to experience the outdoors. The trail system here is phenomenal, and that allows people to experience, so maybe they come here for the trails, but then they also need a place to eat, and they also want to take in a show. So I would say that is one I would hold up, and I also think the Brewery Arts Center, because of the mission of the Brewery Arts to provide as much art and culture for free to people, and also with an eye to creating diverse experiences that not everyone would necessarily have. So I would say, and also I love the train museum. I'm kind of a sap that way, but I love the train museum. Every time I get to hear the train, boop, boop, it makes me happy.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Supervisor Shooty.
Good morning.
Good
and
morning.
Thank you for applying.
Yeah.
What makes a successful promotion in your mind?
A successful promotion has to be very clear from its foundation about what it's trying to achieve. And so starting with a very clear strategy about who it is you're trying to target, and then understanding that demographic or that ideal target audience, understanding where you can find that ideal target audience and maybe what it is that they can bring to the community, whether that's dollars, room nights, whatever. And then working to find things that touch them. In traditional marketing, we would say it solves a problem. For some people, that problem might be they just need time away, and this is a nice, bucolic, quiet place for them to come experience things. It's a hidden gem. I think they can avoid crowds and still have a great time. So I think there are some ways that you can do that, targeting what is most important to those people, and then using, again, a lot of the digital marketing technology that we have at our disposal to have the marketing go find those people rather than waiting for them to trip upon us. And there's a lot of technology that can do that with geo-targeting and geo-fencing and things of that nature. And yeah, but really you have to know who you're talking to in order to speak to them directly.
All right. Thank you so much.
Okay, and now's your opportunity to let us know anything you think we need to know to help us make a decision. Why Mary?
Mary Claire. It's
You like
two
it as
first
Mary
names.
Claire?
I do. Yeah, my
Okay.
dad's a Southerner, so I got two first names.
There you go.
And I've used both of them my whole life. So I actually was very honored to be asked to apply for this position. It sort of came out of nowhere, but I think that it's several years ago. I grew up here, but I've boomeranged away and back. And I moved back here almost 5 years ago, and I started my own business. And within that, I, within my own goal set, said one of the things that's most important for me is arts and culture. And where I was living previously before I moved back was in Washington, D.C. And that is a place where, if you've not had the pleasure of experiencing it, where art and culture are incredibly accessible to everyone all the time for free. It's astonishing what you can enjoy there. And so when I moved back, I thought this is something I really want to become involved in because I believe that art builds community. I think it is a great equalizer. I think that it is something that in a time and a place where people may not be able to agree on things, that sometimes art is something that can bring people together. And when I say art, I don't just mean visual art, I mean literary art, visual art, musical arts, all of those things. So I was very pleased to become a part of the Brewery Arts Center because to me, if you haven't been to those concerts on Saturday night, there's 2,500 people there. And not one of them is worried about their neighbor's politics, you know, the lawn, what's happening here that might be of any controversy at all. They're just there to enjoy a good time. I think art brings people together, and I think that this town is doing a really good job of doing that, and it would be my honor and my pleasure to be a part of continuing that.
Again, thank you so much for applying.
Yeah,
and,
absolutely.
I know you're going to help make the decision tough on us.
Okay.
So again, you're welcome to stay if you'd like
Okay, thank
to
you.
see the results. Thank you. Going to get Garrett. Good morning. Garrett, have you been through an appointment process before?
I have, but it's been a little while.
Been a little while. So the process is we'll each ask you a question, and then I'll give you a closing statement that you can tell us your why or fill in any gaps that you think we might not have asked or got to as to why Garrett.
Perfect.
And then you're welcome to stay because there's one more person to interview after you, and then we'll be making our decision.
Perfect. Thanks, Mayor.
Okay, so again, thank you so much for applying. I know it's a lot of effort, to come and be publicly on the hot seat there. So, but you can handle it, I know. So I'm going to start with my question. So if I can take you back to last winter for a minute. Visit Carson City ran a successful marketing campaign based on their short video, A Winter's Charm. Thinking about this upcoming winter, what marketing approach would you take and how would you measure the success of the campaign?
Carson City's a beautiful place year-round, but in the wintertime, it's even more beautiful. You get the snowflakes, you get the real snow that's on the ground, and especially in that downtown core, I think it's really, really pretty. Out in the hills, it's very pretty. So anything that we can do, whether that's a short film opportunity, whether that's social media video opportunity, to get out there and showcase the beauty of Carson City and the beauty of our area, would be a good marketing approach.
Sorry, I'm writing too. Did you want to do the other half? And how would you know it's a success?
Looking at metrics, what kind of engagement that you get on what you're putting out there online, whether that's likes, comments, shares, things like that. That's a good way to measure the impact and the views, the eyeballs that you're getting on it. Because at the end of the day, that's what the marketing is all about, is getting eyeballs on what you're trying to do.
Okay. Supervisor Giomi.
All right, thank you. Welcome, Garrett. Why do you think it's important for the CTA to have a member representing the commercial interest community on their board?
Being a small business owner, the way that I have to look at the city may be a little different than how a public official looks at the city, or how a hotel casino owner looks at the city. And bringing different perspectives to that board, I think, is important. So you can look at an idea, a problem, a challenge, a success from all angles.
Okay, thank you.
Supervisor White.
Thank you. Good morning. What should the CTA be doing that it is not currently doing?
So I think there's 3 missed opportunities that we can take better advantage of. And in no particular order, the trains. The trains are a huge draw for people across the country. So for example, at Rotary, this was 2 years ago, might have been 3 years ago, they brought all the B&T trains to the Railroad Museum, and they called it the Steam Up, I believe is what it was called.
Steampunk.
Yeah, steampunk, and they brought in all the trains that came in. And Rotary got an opportunity to pour beer and get a proceeds of those sales. And we got to go chat with all the people that came up to buy a beer. And we were all blown away by where these people came from. They came from Florida. They came from Maine. They came from New York, all over the country. And my question always, my follow-up was, you came here just for this, like just to come see the trains? Yeah, we came here just for this. So I think there's a big opportunity and some things we could do with trains to bring people in, not only at the museum, but also at the B&T. Second, the Nevada State Prison. The event that was just held there a couple months ago was a terrific event. And how we can build on that, they don't all have to be scare factor events, but there's a lot of different things that I think we can do. I'm excited to have Lucia at the helm of that. I think she's going to do a terrific job. So I think there's some opportunity that we can hit there as well. And then sports tourism. You guys putting in and approving having artificial turf up at Centennial Fields is a huge, huge thing, and I think it's a wonderful thing. You're going to be able to draw in not only youth sports tourism, but adult sports tourism, and bring in more heads and beds, and bring in people to stay and play and eat in the hotel casinos as well. And I think that's something that we can take more advantage of in what we're doing. So that's my 3 answers for you.
Perfect. Thank you.
Supervisor Horton.
Good morning, Garrett. What are the top 2 attractions in Carson City that bring people to visit here in Carson?
Good question. First of all, I think there's more than 2. I think we have, several more, certainly more than 2 attractions that bring them in. Some of the ones that hit my mind are the outdoor opportunities, the hiking and biking, fishing, hunting opportunities that are in our area. Museums. Nevada State Museum is a terrific place to get people to come into. We talked about sports tourism, bringing people in for youth sports, adult sports, and golf. We have a terrific golf community around here. I don't remember the exact number, but there's something like 9 golf courses right down in this valley between Gardnerville, Carson, Genoa, and that's an awesome opportunity to bring people from out of the area to come play golf for a weekend or a 4 or 5 day period. Trains. People come here for trains. I've seen it firsthand. And then playing off the Capitol. People love the history of a Capitol. They want to go walk through the Capitol. They want to see the legislative building. So I think those are a handful of things that are attractions that would bring people to Carson City.
Thank you.
Supervisor Schutte.
Good morning, and thank you for applying. My question is, what do you see or what makes a successful promotion?
A successful promotion would be engagement, and whether that's engagement online, like we talked about before, likes, comments, shares, or actual attendance at an event. You know, Carson kind of has 4 core events that happen every year. If we could add one more annual event to that, I think that would be a wonderful thing. You know, whether that's from a group or not, but a successful event is something that happens, that goes off, where people had fun. The return on investment was there for whoever invested in it, whether that was the CTA or whether that was a private entity that was doing that, and that it was safe.
Thank you.
Okay, so now give us your why or what else you think we need to know to help make our selection.
So one thing that I think we can do better on from promoting Carson City is Carson City's the hub. It's the central hub of where all these things happen. So if you're going to come stay in Northern Nevada, your best bet is to stay in Carson City, because if you're trying to get to Lake Tahoe, it's easy to get to Lake Tahoe. You're trying to get to Reno, it's easy to get to Reno. Playing off of that being a central hub location, I think we can do a better job of that from a visitor's standpoint. I think the skill set that I would bring to the board that maybe isn't currently there would be just thinking outside the box. I'm a lifelong resident of Carson City, so I know the draw and what keeps me here, and part of what keeps me here probably will help bring people here. So having that perspective, having maybe a little younger and parental perspective on the board as well. So someone who's a parent and has children, you know, what are the draws that the kids want? You know, and I get to go ask an 11-year-old and get her opinion, and she's opinionated, so she'll tell me what she thinks. So bringing that perspective to the board, and then just understanding today's marketing and promotion. Within my own business, I have to put myself on video and share that out into the world, whether I want to do it or I don't. That's just the name of the game and how you have to do business in 2025. So having an understanding of that, I think, will help on the board level as well.
Well, again, thank you so much for applying. We really appreciate it. Again, we know what it is to come and put yourself out there, and so you're welcome to stay because we have one more interview to complete. And thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Come on up.
Good morning, how are you?
Good morning.
How is everybody?
Yay.
I was not aware we had 2 such greatly qualified community candidates for this position. I'm already pushing 50 to 60 hours a week, and I would like to withdraw at this time and reconsider. I know there's a position in December that may come open. At that point in time, reconsider and cross the bridge at that time. In answering your main question, and
Put it on the mic.
Oh,
Green. We need to be green. Green to go. Nope, green.
Right, gotcha. So, and then just to answer partially one of your questions is this community is missing a huge gap with golf and the number of golf courses. And our property, we'd be more than happy to work with this board. Please reach out to help bring that here. I have a huge golf background from Los Angeles and be more than happy to help you. Our property being the Casino Fandango and the Marriott, okay? So thank you. I appreciate you having me, but you got 2 great qualified candidates, and I have enough on my plate right now, okay? Thank you to all of you. Appreciate your time.
Thanks, Victor. Okay. All right. Well, then I will bring it back up here for final decision, we have two excellent candidates. No doubt about that. Supervisor Horton?
Thank you, Mayor.
Mhm.
I wanted to go first because, oh, I'm sorry. Is that better? Excellent. I wanted to take the opportunity to just congratulate both candidates for applying, all three actually. It's always tough to get people to come in and like Victor said, 50 hours on the plate, and then you're doing additional work and you're doing it for free. And we really appreciate people who volunteer for these opportunities. So thank you both for that. I think when I listened to the candidates, they're both very qualified, and I appreciate all the information. I have to lean toward Garrett Lapierre only because I think he's invested in our community. He has been all of his life. He's done some amazing things for the community. And I know that he has a perspective that a lot of folks don't have. And I appreciate that. I appreciate that point of view. I liked your comment about the youth. People don't just come here as adults. We're not just going to casinos. They come here for youth sports. They want to bring their kids on vacation. What can you do in that perspective? And I like that comment. So I think for me, I have to lean toward Garrett. But I appreciate Mary Claire's comments and information. But that's where I'm at today.
Okay. Supervisor Giomi?
Thanks, Mayor. You both are amazing people, and I wish we could put both of you
Yes.
on the board today. For a lot of the reasons that Kurt mentioned, I would give the slight nod to Garrett because of the involvement in the community over the decades. And in my mind, it's a connection to this community. And I say that despite the fact that he accused me of being old. I would have no qualms about Mary Claire serving, but I believe Garrett's knowledge and longevity in the community, and let me just say longevity in a community in and of itself is, it just means you're getting older. It doesn't mean you've done anything, but longevity with contribution has meaning to me, and so that's the slight nod in my mind.
Supervisor Schutte?
Hi, thank you. How wonderful that we have this tough decision. In terms of application, both candidates bring really an important background. And Garrett, I don't know of too many folks who would have the test of mustard and jelly sandwiches, and so thank you for leaning into that. I actually have to, I'm leaning toward Mary Claire, just because, regarding Mayor Bagwell's question, really leaning into that marketing and knowing the edge and the very specific answers that came with, how that film resonated with the community and the different ideas that came from that film. I also, on Stacy's question, the passion for Carson City, when the town is a good place to be, tourists follow, and that question or that answer really resonated. The question for Supervisor White, the partnerships, you spoke to the partnerships, that they are successful, and I appreciate that outreach in terms of partnership and really speaking to it. I really think collaboration is incredibly important, and I trust that both candidates, both of you would acknowledge that, but you just really spoke to that. And then regarding my question, I just appreciated the very specifics in terms of what makes for a successful promotion, the knowing who you're targeting, what problem do you want to solve, what people are you addressing, And so really that was the very slight edge. Garrett's super difficult decision, because I appreciate all you do and your involvement with Carson, but I have to lean toward Mary Claire on this one.
Supervisor White?
Thank you. I will say that we're looking at two different directions. While they both have very strong connections to Carson City, I think Mary Claire brings a perspective from outside the area, which I very much appreciate. Like Garrett, I was born and raised here. And I think with the CTA, we have a lot of that homegrown type perspective already. And I really appreciated Mary Claire's answer on what makes for a successful promotion. You know, it's not just the metrics, it's the planning that goes before the promotion takes place. So with that, I would lean towards Mary Claire. But I certainly would not have an objection to either of the candidates being on the CTA because they are truly both worthy candidates.
Well, drats, I don't get off the hook here, do I? When you go last, sometimes you don't have to say much. Yeah, I'm not getting off the hook. So first of all, I thought you were both dynamic in your responses, but in very different ways. And I think that all of the comments made by everyone on this board all have merit. And so then it comes down for me is what is the tipping point to who's going to help, in my mind, grow the CTA's opportunity to be more successful, to bring in more tourists, to attract more events. And so listening distinctly to each answer that each of you gave. And so I'm going to select Garrett because of something that he said. And it does come down to the knowing of the community. He was able to identify the events and to say, we need another one. We need another signature. And for me, for tourism, it is about covering specific periods of time and saying, okay, I would love a special event every month personally, right? But how do you endear people to say, I want to go to Carson City, is you hold an event. And then I'm going to say something else. I don't have experience with Mary Claire, but I would love to. I do have experiences with Garrett because he's been here for so very long that I know when he says he's going to do something, he does it. And so I also know how hard he works putting on a brew pub, putting on events. And so I think that for me, it was a small leg up because I just have more working knowledge. But I really think Mary Claire is a dynamic and an opportunity to really help us shine too. But I'm going to cast my vote for Garrett. So would someone like to make a motion?
Yeah, I will.
Yeah.
And I'll just make a quick comment. Supervisor White commented that it's good to have outside input, and I don't disagree. And in fact, only 2 of the 5, well, currently 4 board members are from Carson, actually live in Carson. And one of those 2 moved here just 4 years ago from Las Vegas. We just put her on the board. So we do have a lot of outside perspective. Andrew Reno lives in Washoe County. The position this is replacing lives in Douglas County. The hotel operator lives in Southern California. So it's we do have outside perspective. I think, just to tack on to what Lori said, I think it will help to have that local perspective for me. So I will move to appoint Garrett Lapierre to represent other commercial interests for a 2-year term that expires in July of 2027.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for approval of Mr. Lapierre. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. Thank you so much. And Garrett, don't let me down. I just said you'd do everything you said. So Divine Nine, we used to have, I heard golf. I heard Vic say golf. I'm not sure why Divine Nine kind of
You heard what? Bixay golf.
golf. Vic said he wanted
Bixay.
golf.
I thought you said Bixay golf. What is Bixay?
Big golf. That's a new kind of golf coming up. But anyway, thank you, Mary Claire, also. Wonderful interviews, and Carson City is so lucky to have people that want to serve. So thank you. Okay. That's it. We'll move on to agenda item 17A. This is our biannual report for our jail conditions, and come on up, Matt Smith, and talk to us about jail conditions. And Jerome. Haha, he got a good lesson this morning. He was surprised it actually worked. Yeah, he's like, hey, that worked.
No, I appreciate all of you taking the time today to sit with me today to go over the conditions and what we do within our jail here in Carson City. Again, today, the first slide is kind of covering the NRS chapter, why we meet biannually, and the importance of why we do this. Moving forward into a summary of what we're going to discuss a little bit today. First, we're going to discuss the past 6 months. We haven't had any deaths within our jail. Building maintenance recorded 96 service requests since January 1st. In 2025, detention medical staff medically consoled about 1,758 inmates for various medical ailments. 5 CAP projects were completed. And we also went live with our new inmate communication service, which is NCIC. These are a list of the different projects we completed with CIP, replacing the kitchen's dishwashers, firewall projects in the kitchen ceiling tiles, refurbishment of our cell in the BK area, and as well as installing our new booking counter with protective glass for our civilian employees. Kind of summarize a little bit of what building maintenance has done this year. So during this calendar year, again, 96 building maintenance requests have done since January 1st. Again, around 1,793 hours were logged within the Sheriff's Department by building maintenance. The Sheriff's Office was provided funds, which I greatly appreciate, for the broke fix, and which we were able to solve our malfunction in refrigeration. Since this project has been completed, we've had 0 product loss or inconsistencies in temperature. So I greatly appreciate that contribution to the jail. Kind of touching on some of our inmate population. So currently from January to May, we sit around 162 inmates, but as the temperature rises every year, we always see it a little bit higher. And so as of last month and currently to today, we're sitting in the average about 171 to about 176. But as before that is about 170 or 162. The average stay in our jail is about 101 days. And our current makeup of the population is pretty consistently about 75% is male and then about 25% female. Kind of breaking it down a little bit further, our male inmate population right now is about 68% of our capacity, and then our female percent about 50. So we're doing pretty good in those areas. Inmate medical coverage. This is a big topic for us because it's a big area. So detention medical staff averages around 346 inmate medical consultations. What do I mean by consultations? That means inmates put in a request to see our medical staff. Now it could be ranging from various things such as just asking what prescription am I taking, or can I have an extra mattress or an extra blanket? Or it could be more severe where, hey, I'm having some pains in my foot or dental pain or whatever it may be. So we encompass a multitude of different various consultations within our facility.
About 91% of those are handled in person. Well, that means that our medical staff wants to see them in person. That remaining 9% doesn't go unanswered. It just means that they're just asking for a blanket, extra mattress, something where our medical staff can just reply to them and get them the needs that they're asking for. Also within there, we also communicate with our outside resources, with CTH and dental visits, and all of our outpatient services handled strictly through our medical consultation and our visits such as that. Keeping in mind, we have one full-time medical staff person. She's amazing, and she's been doing a fantastic job of really making sure all of our inmate medical needs are covered. And then we do have a part-time APRN as well to assist her on those needs. Averaging on a monthly basis, we have about 7 medical emergencies. Well, what do medical emergencies really mean? Well, that means when our jail staff gets notified or we see something that we're like, hey, we can't handle this internally, or our medical staff sees it, they actually call the fire department to come in, make their medical assessment and recommendation for transportation to CTH or wherever they need to be taken. And again, all those decisions are made by Carson City Fire. So we have a great network with them, and they're fantastic at coming to our jail and helping us out when we're in those type of needs. Moving toward our inmate communication, again, we went live as of May 1st with NCIC, Inmate Communication Services. And some of those services, again, they took over are the telephone services. A newer feature we're actually moving toward more of the evolution of law enforcement and jails across the country is video visitation. So we offer the in-person visitation, and we're still working with our video visitation consultation. So meaning they actually have little tablets. They can actually video visit their family right from the jail, and the family, if they don't have means to come down here, they can visit them from home, right from their phone. So it's a pretty neat feature, and so far the inmates love that feature, that they're able to communicate with them, because they know a lot of times, sometimes they're out of the area, and they can just do it right from their home.
Matt, can you go in a little bit further on the video visitation for me?
Sure.
Is that, when you said they have a tablet, does that mean they go to a recording area that's recorded that visit?
So-
like you do from the telephones? Can you,
Yes,
let me
absolutely.
understand that a little more.
No, great question. So the tablets actually is a recorded. Anything that's telephone or video visitation is automatically recorded by the NCIC provider. And what we do is we don't have the entire facility upfit with tablets. We actually have only 12. What they do is they go into the kiosk and they actually enter in dates that they would like to have visitation for. And then they'd come down to our visitation booths where the network is covered with the Wi-Fi. And then they would be handed one of the tablets where they connect to their family. These are 15-minute maximum recorded times. But again, yes, they are absolutely recorded. And what we also did is we have a built-in feature with NCIC that flags keywords. And then if it does keywords, or even it's focusing on the face. So everything outside of the face is blurred out. And wherever the face moves, the face will move with the
The
technology.
camera comes with it.
So if somebody were to stand up and try to move, even so it's blanked out, it would immediately cancel the visitation call and flag the sergeants on duty to let them know.
And that's the only thing on the tablet, so they can't go shopping on Amazon or something, right? It's
Correct.
an isolated individual
These are
system, and that's all that resides
Angry
on
Birds,
the
too. They have Angry Birds.
Angry Birds, yeah. I just, coming from the prison system, again, they have lots of times to think on how to
And
do things we don't necessarily want them doing. So it's a closed individual system,
Correct.
and
This is a
that's all
closed
that's on
circuit
the
network.
tablet?
Correct. This is closed circuit network, and the only thing they can access is provided right there, and they cannot exit out of it. They can't do anything other than video visitation from that. Now, with that being said, which will lead me into our next portion of this, is family services. This is a newer concept within our jail too, and family services also utilizes the tablet platform, but for a completely different reason. We use it more for educational purposes. And so what we have is we have a twofold setup. We have one way for inmate communication, but we also have one way for purely educational platforms. And this is monitored again by our sergeants in-house, but also our family services coordinator, Faith Barber. just kind of summarize some of the stuff that she has done within the Family Services Unit. Currently, as of this year, she has seen about 181 people participate with the program. Average monthly is about 36. And so far, about 92 female on the attendance side. And we have a lot more females who actually do attend this program, which is great because she offers a slew of different platforms for educational purposes, primary focus being behind parenting education. But we also offer platforms such as how to get your GED. And on monthly average, she sees about 18 people. But also, outside of that realm, she goes to specific houses, meaning she'll go to people's houses if they were recently released out of jail and they need some kind of service to get themselves reintegrated back within the community. She has ways of doing such, meaning she has toiletries, diapers, educational stuff, and also different ways of connecting them with outside services. So that way, we can try to curb a little bit of that recidivism that happens within our community, which we are doing diligently, try to get rid of that and lower those numbers. But currently, about 31 families have been helped outside of the jail facility. Some of the stuff that she does do is basic assistance, housing stability, agency navigation, medical, legal support, meaning she refers them to services. She doesn't provide it, but she'll refer them to services outside for these such instances. Childcare, early education, school support, and skill building and financial literacy. So that way, again, they're trying to reintegrate them back within society and give them a stable platform where they don't have to keep coming back. Again, currently, we are offering parenting programs, which is our primary focus, but GED preparatory classes, and also ways for them to acquire their GED. We have had one person so far actually graduate with a GED from our facility. Future planning is right now we are finalizing an MOU with University of Nevada, Reno, would also expand our coverage here in Carson City. They have a fantastic program which also deals with children 1 to 5 years old and is specific to helping incarcerated parents with education and parenting classes. The overall goal, again, is to reduce recidivism within our community with the incarcerated parents. We receive quite a few letters of thank and support from our inmates when they do get released since the adoption of this program. This is one letter right here that clearly articulates, and the reason I brought it forward is because of how much emotion was poured into it. I could tell clearly that she really wanted to thank us for the effort that was put forward. She's now reintegrating her back in the society, and again, she was able to get her GED from this program. So it was a huge step for us and a big win. This isn't the first letter or the only letter we've received, but this is just the one that I read. And I like to read them because I like to see how we're doing. But this one stuck out the most because of how much emotional support was really carried out with her. And again, I want to repeat this is our family service unit is kind of a newer concept, but it's really to reduce recidivism and make our, when they're released from our facility, make them a little bit healthier and a little more stable. And that's kind of our end of the report. Thank you again.
Does any member have any other further questions?
I have a question.
Supervisor Wade.
Thank you. I'm interested in knowing how often does the jail have to deal with a detox situation, and what is your protocol for that?
Okay, great question. So, unfortunately, as time has progressed and the evolution of drugs as well also progressed into much heavier stuff, our biggest thing is fentanyl and the detoxification from that. We do encounter that. I can't give a specific number, but we encounter it actually quite frequently. To go into the more protocols of it is when somebody comes in, or we go through our medical questionnaire with them, or simple medical observation with them, and we start questioning into it. As soon as we get any kind of indication that it's either alcohol or fentanyl or some kind of detoxification, they're immediately set up to see our medical staff. If they're on site, they come down immediately and make a judgment call as to we should probably send them to the hospital first, get medical clearance, to kind of see where they're at. Once they come back from the hospital, they'll immediately get placed into one of our medical observation cells, and from there, they are checked on frequently by our booking staff. Every hour is the minimum standard, but when they're in that kind of a state, I expect them to be much more diligent about their checks about that. Any kind of signs or symptoms that are suggesting that they are to need to be further medically evaluated, again, that comes into the medical emergency state where we immediately call the fire department to come down and check on them. Detoxification from fentanyl is highly dangerous, but it's also a prolonged process. This is usually an average about 5 days to 7 days of detoxing from that. And it's unfortunately quite violent. But that's why we have our guys immediately call the fire department, have them come down, make their medical assessment, and more times than not, they suggest you should probably go back to the hospital. And we have had a couple overnight stays from that, but that's usually our process until they come back and they're completely at that recovery state, and then we move them from there. But again, it's all based on medical observation and consultation from either CTH or combination of CTH and our medical services within jail.
Thank you.
Supervisor Schutte.
Hi, thank you for the great presentation. The average stay being 101 days, what factors influence this length of stay?
The length of stay is decided by our court system, and that typically ranges from what kind of crimes that come in, or another key thing that we're starting to see a very large uptick in is our mental health within our jails and the clientele that are coming in with mental health illnesses. Sometimes when they do have mental health illnesses, the courts do ask that they stay in the custody a little bit longer because they are able to receive more medical services and outpatient services to help them get back on medication to hopefully stabilize them. So sometimes that is a driving factor to drive up our lengths of stay within Carson City.
Thank you. And I just really want to give a shout out to Faith Barber and the Family Services Unit. You know what she does, and really with what you all do in terms of looking at the big picture for incarcerated individuals, and you said it beautifully. It's what is the overreaching goal? It is that the reduction in recidivism, because ultimately, if we can help people get on their feet and make better choices, they aren't in the jails. It reduces the population in the jails. It certainly reduces length of stay, which all of that is quite expensive. So just a shout out, and thank you for the great report.
Questions? Well, thank you very much, and we'll see you in 6 months.
Sounds good. Thank you. Thank you again.
With another great report. Thank you. Okay, let's see. We will. We are going to move on to agenda item 18A, which is dealing with the proposed resolution adopting the Carson River Watershed Regional Floodplain Management Plan for 2025. I see Mr. James. Is it going to take you just a minute to queue up your PowerPoint? Okay, because then after that, we'll take just a brief recess. Thank you, Ms. Six. You are on. No, green.
There we go. I am now. All right, thank you. For the record, Ed James with the Carson Water Subconservancy District. And today I'm going to give you an overview of the Carson River Floodplain Management Plan. It's an update for 2025. I'll give you a little background on it, why it came around, the purpose of it, and then hopefully you're looking at adopting it. Excuse me. I will say that every picture you'll see in this are flood pictures that are occurred in this watershed, because it's important to understand, even though we live in a desert, it does flood, and it floods everywhere in this watershed. Being prepared. The picture here is in 97, and this was in Carson Valley. This is 395 in the bottom left, and it's totally inundated. This is a trailer park, if you know, coming into that area, and those two houses. They were built above the flood area, however, you couldn't get to those houses on that. But this is also what we want to see. The best protection we can have in this watershed is our floodplains, and keeping those open is critical. You know, in 97, there was about $16 million worth of damage on the Carson. But on the Truckee, which has a lot more upstream storage and all these facilities, they experienced over $700 million of damage because they built into their floodplain. So keeping our floodplains open is critical, and the opportunity to preserve that is not only better for the environment, health, but it also is a far cheaper way of maintaining and protecting our community. So the main purpose of the floodplain management plan is to reduce flood risk. You'll never eliminate it, but if we can reduce flood risk, that is the goal, to be prepared, to reduce as we come through, and that is our goal. This house here in Lyon County has been flooded twice over the years. And again, this one was mostly from the alluvial fans in the area. But the history of it, why do we have this plan and what was the purpose? So after the 97 flood, the community got together, and we're not talking just the Carson City community, we're talking the entire watershed community got together and said, how do we want to deal with flooding in the Carson? Do we need a flood district? Do we want to develop these things? And the community got together and says, we need to be working cooperatively in an integrated process, not only just flooding, but water supply, the habitat, everything, looking at it because they all tie together, water quality. And so the Carson River Coalition was formed, and there are hundreds of people who get emails every year or from us. Brenda Hunt is the coordinator for this group. And basically, it was the community coming together, says, we need to work as a community, not one entity could do it, and help provide information. And so that was the goal, that this group got together, and there were several meetings over the years to look at how we want to deal with flood issues. So a little history on the plan. So from 97, or 98 actually, when the group got together, to 2008, we held a lot of workshops. We talked with the different communities. What is going on? How we want to deal with flooding. And in 2008, a plan was developed and brought forward to Alpine County, which is in California, Douglas, Carson, Lyon, and Churchill County. Now that report at that time really focused on the river, and that was the main focus at that time. How do we want to deal with flooding? And we came up with this living river concept and just, again, promoting open space to allow the floodwaters of the river to go to. In 2013, it was just updated on some of that, and again, the various counties adopted this. In 2018, we realized that we needed to focus also on alluvial fans. That became another big issue here. And so in 2018, we expanded the plan to include alluvial fans, and at that point, Story County then adopted it because they have a lot of alluvial fan issues too. And again, it was awareness. And this is a regional plan, so it's not just Carson City focus, it's dealing with the whole area there. So there's things in there that it's in the reference material that you may or may not need, but again, it's something that everyone could then look into and seeing how we reduce flooding. And just some great old pictures. I mean, it's flooded from the day one we got here, and this 1907, you can see where Carson was. I mean, there wasn't much there, but there was sure a lot of water. In 1907, also flooded Churchill County. That was before Lahontan was built, and the whole downtown was flooded out there. So again, we have a lot of impacts of flooding through this area and a lot of history. Major floods happen, you can see quite a few times as they go through. I believe 1962 would probably be the worst one if we had anyone around here. There were a few, not many, but that was a flood that washed out basically California, bankrupted. Sacramento was under several feet of water. It flooded Central Valley. It was a huge flood. We just don't have any records at the time because there were very few people living here at that time coming through. But flooding is also becoming another issue as we start developing. And this is another thing that we've seen. We start developing around that, and some of the historic stuff is now impacting we do this development, enhancing flooding issues. Example, like Johnson Lane, when we did an area drainage master plan in Douglas County, we realized after we'd done the plan, we should have done it 50 or 60 years ago. Because at that point, we could have created these corridors of alluvial fans for floodwaters to go down through the area and head toward the river. Instead, what happened is they built over and they basically blocked off a lot of those areas. It wasn't just Johnson Lane. Every area drainage master plan we've done, we've seen this issue. And we find sometimes that the fix is more expensive than the damage now. So as we start looking at how do we prepare for this, how does it, when we move forward in our development, that we don't increase the problems in the future? And that's kind of the main goal too. Giving awareness is really critical in our developing plan. And I will give you credit, Carson City has a really good program. You guys are really ahead of the curve on a lot of things here. This is a great shot in Alpine County. Again, how the floodwaters, the river likes to move back and forth, and when the water is really high, this becomes a complete river area. But that's what Mother Nature wants to do. And it also recharges our aquifers, and it's a really healthy way of habitat. So what does the plan do? It's a regional approach to floodplain management. It looks at protecting the floodplain from development along the river and avoids reduce flood damages impacts on the watershed-wide scale. And gets into this whole thing, a living river concept. Can we protect our river, our wildlife, floodlands, water quantity, balancing the property rights and natural resources, and public safety are all tied into this. The Carson River Coalition main message, and this came out of the 2004 conference that we had, was to protect the floodplain from future development. And Carson City has done a great job. You've purchased a lot of lands and open space along the river, and that is a great goal. You know, if you have agriculture, there's a damage to them, excuse me, if it floods, but it does protect the community. You're not trying to protect houses and so on. The golf course also floods and there's damage there, but there's things that we can do to help. But if you had a lot of hotels, houses, you would then want to protect those. And when you try to protect that, that means you have to build levees and berms, and now you're causing problems downstream in other places. So again, purchasing open space is something that Carson City has done a great job, and we give you kudos for all the stuff you have done in this area. So let's talk about what the plan does, and I have to change, the date is not 24, it was 23 when this flood occurred. And you realize that people think they can get through water. I think they think their cars can float, but they can't. And you should be aware that, it doesn't take much, but, 10 inches of fast-moving water that can move your car. So it's awareness of being, don't drive through water if you can't see the bottom. So what it does is we have flood hazard mitigation strategies. There are 8 of them. And in part of this, there are 49 suggested actions. This is not a regulatory document at all. This is just to provide input. So when you guys develop your plans, you have a resource that you can look into and say, okay, what is it we may want to incorporate into our regulations and policies that would protect our community better? But these are, again, just suggestive actions. What was recently done, changes on here, is we increased the minimizing stormwater impacts. We spent a lot of time looking at how stormwater impacts infrastructure, and we did quite a bit of work on our plan to include that. And again, flash floods happen throughout the area. Here's someone who thought they could get through the area and got stuck. And it's just been awareness that when it does flood, it happens pretty quickly. And Texas is a great example of a community that wasn't prepared. I mean, they probably could never have been prepared for that situation, but there are things that could have been done to minimize some of the impacts and loss of life. This one's here. This was at the Fandango. Brenda Hunt just happened, she was going to go to the movie that day and has happened to catch that storm. These people went in to watch a movie and came out and found their car covered. Now, there's not much you really can do. I mean, it was a very intense storm coming down, but awareness that it happens everywhere. And I think that's the key thing, is just being prepared and plan for it. We have a grant in with FEMA to maybe look upstream on behalf of Carson City to see if there's things we could do to maybe take care of this drainage. But again, when I talk about it, we'll never eliminate flooding. There's always going to be flooding, but if we can prepare, we can maybe minimize those impacts. And I want to thank your staff for the assistance in reviewing this. We had a lot of meetings. Debbie Nedenrip in our office took the lead on this program, and she did a great job putting it together, the plan, and working with all the staffs up and down the entire watershed. It's not just one entity, it's many, and you get a lot of different opinions sometimes, so we appreciate that. And so with that questions, this one I just want to point out, this is in Markleeville. Caltrans was working on the bridge, and so they decided to put all their supplies and materials up above it, so when we have any flooding from the river, this is a storm that came down Mulberry Creek, washed through Markleeville, and basically covered the entire supplies that they had for the bridge building in sediment, 3 to 4 feet of sediment coming through. So again, wherever it is that they had a fire in this area the year before, and it just really accelerated the impacts. Are there any questions? And again, what we want to do is ask you to adopt it, because we realized early on, by having the cities adopt it, it basically makes a recognition that you've read it, be aware of it. And I will have to give you credit. I know several of you have read it because I got a lot of comments, and I appreciate that. And there are some corrections that we will add to the final report.
Does any member have a question? Supervisor Horton?
I don't really have a question, Ed. I just want to say thank you to you and your staff for all the hard work that you do, and tell you how much I appreciate your efforts. It's amazing. Thank you.
Thank you.
True. Okay. No. Is there any public comment on this item before we take any action? No? Okay, covered both of those technicals. Would anyone like to make a motion? Supervisor Schutte? 20. Number 20.
I move to adopt the plan. I don't have.
Resolution.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
Let
sorry.
me- No, I have it, okay. I move Resolution 2025-R-20.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for approval of the resolution. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, say no. Let the record reflect it was unanimous. And again, please do extend to Debbie what a great job she did on the plan. And like you said, it's really good. She can rest assured we read it. Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Okay.
And apologies, looking at this packet versus this, so I
Yeah,
couldn't find
no
the
problem.
language. Nice job.
I thought she was searching
Mr.
for the
James.
number.
No,
But that's
thank
okay.
you.
We're good. We're good. All right. We are going to take just you can come and set up or whatever to get ready, but we're going to move to agenda 19A, but we're going to take just a 10 after. We'll be right back. 'Cause bring the Board of Supervisors back to order. We're on agenda item 19A, which is a request for Board of Crossings final subdivision map. Ms. Ferris?
Thank you, Heather
Give us the
Ferris, for the record.
highlights.
This is a request for a final subdivision map for a subdivision known as Border Crossing. The subdivision is located at the northeast corner of Clearview Drive and Silver Sage Drive, and will result in 28 lots for single-family residences and common area. The board approved the original tentative map at their February 18th, 2021 meeting, and subsequently approved an extension of time on December 7th, 2023. Final subdivision maps must be reviewed and approved by the board. Your packet contains a memo which addresses compliance with the conditions of approval. Staff has found that the developer has met all of the conditions of approval and has posted securities for the required site improvements that have yet to be completed. And we are recommending approval of the final map. I did want to mention that there should be a correction in the staff report to the previous action section. That's on page 551 of your packet. Supervisor White pointed out to me that the February 18th, 21 agenda item was 29C, not 29B. With that, I'm available for questions.
Does any member have a question? So I would just like to acknowledge that we had public comment on this item, and I think it's important for them to recognize, I'm positive that each of us have read it and have considered its weight to the matter. And while I recognize their angst with the final decisions that were made concerning the project on the ingress and egress for Center Drive, I think that staff worked as hard as they could to find ways, and we had a willing partner with the development itself to find as safe of a mechanism as possible to mitigate traffic on Center, but we were just unable to find a way to truly close it or to encourage that there would be no traffic except for an emergency. And that, for me, ultimately, the safety of both the residents within those 28 housing, not project, but those houses, we must make sure they have an exit in case an event happened. And certainly, like you said, we've just had a discussion on flooding, fires, things of those nature. I'm sorry, but the safety of everyone is far more paramount. I wish we could have found something that would have pleased the neighbors, but I think we've just absolutely done the best that we could. And thank Mr. Turner for trying and Public Works for coming up with a solution. So but I do want the Leaches to know that we did consider their material. Supervisor Schutte?
Thank you. Yeah, in some of the correspondence, I would just ask, Darren, if you could speak a little bit to some of the mitigations that were discussed and, why they don't work. Because I think there's a frustration and concern that the proposals, why couldn't they work? And so if you could just speak to that a little bit, the right turn only or the median and the curb, I'd really appreciate it.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. Good morning, Darren Schultz, Public Works Director. So this is not dissimilar to other decisions and challenges that we meet on a daily basis. As has been mentioned, we have to look at it across the board and consider everything that goes into it and try to put the appropriate amount of weight with the factors that we're presented with. In this case, there was not an option that we could close the road completely. There just wasn't an option where that would work. So then we started to look for ways that we could mitigate it and allow less traffic to get onto Center to try to help the concern of increased traffic there. We looked at a number of different options. We discussed a number of different options with the developer in terms of feasibility. They were not involved in selecting the best one. That was done by city staff, and then we involved them. We came up with the option that we have now with the raised curb for half of it, median, and it checks the boxes that we felt were critical to check, and it prevents some of the traffic on Center Drive. The one question that you brought up about making it so that eastbound would be right turn only out of the new subdivision. We looked at that, considered it, studied that. We just ran into a couple of issues with that to make that work safely, and again, check all the boxes. Specifically, with the nature of the way Center Drive is there, trying to continue the median out far enough into Center to force that right-hand turn only proved to be challenging, because the median could only go so far to the west into the development without impacting the new house that's being proposed there on the corner and their access in and out of their driveway. So we had a pretty narrow little area to work to actually build this raised median. So that was part of it. The other part of it is that although it's meant as the exit out of the property, we do anticipate that Waste Management will likely drive the wrong way to access the property to be able to pick up the trash that's on the north. It would be on the north side of the new property. So their arm of picking up the bucket, they can line up. So they're not supposed to drive over curbs on any circumstances whatsoever. So by having it right only, it makes it even more challenging for them to go the wrong way temporarily to get to that side of the street. And then the other thing that we looked at is trying to sign it and mark it and make it so that even though you do that and you say it, are people going to just ignore it, and then we create a problem down the road of enforcing that? And we have a lot of those all over town, and you hear about them because they're not being enforced. So that is also part of a consideration of just because we put up a sign, no left turn, doesn't mean if the road is wide open and there's not a lot of traffic coming, people make those left turns anyway. We see that around town. So in consideration of all of those things, the solution we proposed is the best one.
Thank you for explaining.
Supervisor Giomi.
Having looked at this and I considering all the things that could have been, I'll take you at your word that this ends up being the best. I think it does. I guess my disappointment for future considerations is that I felt like this should have come back to the board. I felt as though it was very clearly stated during the development process that we wanted something done at this end. And I think when it didn't, that's the rub I had with this whole thing. I just felt it should have come back here to have a discussion for this body to discuss ahead of this. At the end of the whole process, I think this is probably the safest alternative. And I think it'll work, and I'll be supporting it, but I'm not real happy with the process.
Okay. Is there any public comment on this item? Okay, seeing none, I'll take a motion. Supervisor Horton.
I move to approve the final subdivision map as presented.
I have a motion and a second for approval. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. Let the record reflect it was Unanimous, thank you. And again, thank you, Mark, for working with staff to try to find a solution. Okay, we're going to move on to agenda item 19B, discussion and possible action to introduce on first reading an ordinance establishing various provisions relating to temporary use permits. Hold on, let me get there. I don't need an agenda title. Look. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. I see Supervisor Giomi got my joke. Okay, so in presenting this, what I decided to do was take the PowerPoint I brought to your retreat so that you can see we're just carrying on the conversation. And it was funny, Mackenzie said, "Did you mean to cross out that day?" I said, "Yes, I did." So I normally wouldn't give you a PowerPoint that looked like this, but I want to show you that we're moving forward. This actually came up during the Title 18 discussion, and in updating Title 18, the board left the regulations on temporary use permits alone. You said, let's put that on the side and come back to it. So we are coming back to it. There was a focused discussion on February 21, 25 during the board retreat. During that retreat, we briefly said, what's a temporary use permit? Well, temporary use permit's the approval from the local government to allow a specific land use to occur temporarily in a zone where it's usually not permitted. During the retreat, we talked about some conflicting statements in the code. Those conflicting statements included statements relative to the duration of an event, as well as whether the event had to be customarily related to the primary business on the property, or if it could be unrelated to the primary function of the property. During the retreat, the consensus of the board was to limit, in terms of duration, limit the temporary event to a maximum of 60 days and up to 2 times a year, with each event not exceeding 30 days. The board said the temporary use does not need to be customarily related to the primary business on the property. And the board said the temporary use could be indoors or outdoors. The proposed ordinance reflects the consensus of the board and eliminates the conflicting language. The mayor pointed out to me that she said, well, I don't understand. What's a temporary use versus a short-term business versus a special event? And so I just want to speak to that briefly because they all kind of can overlap a little bit. When I had to actually put my thoughts together to speak to this, what I realized was the temporary use permits in Title 18. That's when we talk about land use. Title 4 is where we have a temporary use permit, is where we have a special event in a short-term business. So when we look at business licenses, you have like 7 categories of a business license. It can be an independent contractor. What else do we have? A normal contractor, a bricks and mortar business. I forget. It needs based on
Hobby.
a hobby business. Yeah. So there's 7 categories for a business license. A short-term business license is one of those categories. And for each of those categories, there's a fee. And the fee is not identical. All businesses, there's an out-of-town business, for example. So short-term business has a fee. And in Title IV, short-term business means conducting business in Carson City for a period of 60 days or less. So if somebody comes in for a business license in 60 days or less, and traditionally, I feel like everything's gotten longer over the years, but traditionally it'd be pumpkin sales or Christmas tree sales. But we get ready for Christmas before Thanksgiving now, so anyway. But traditionally, that was the idea. So it would be those type of businesses, and they'd be categorized that way. Also, special events are included in Title IV. And so if you're going to have a special event, and again, you still have your zoning. Zoning's over there in Title 18. They are read together. You don't read, one doesn't trump the other. So a special event is defined as an indoor or outdoor activity taking place on private or public land, open to the public, whether or not a fee is charged for admission, entrance, or other participation is not the primarily licensed nature of the business and or includes vendors. And that goes on to talk about street closures and things. So when we look at the special event definition from Title IV, it's sounding a lot like a temporary use. And I think that was the conversation I had with the mayor was, well, why is this a temporary use permit versus a special use permit? And an example of a temporary use permit, and I think a lot of you are familiar with this, is the RV sales they had, for example, at Gold Dust West. I actually, and the city manager said, well, how do people know what to apply for? In fairness, they may not know. They may say, I want to sell RVs over at Gold Dust West, and the staff has to decide how to interpret that. I, for one, would interpret that as a temporary use permit, not a special use permit. I don't equate that to the special event, or, I'm sorry, as opposed to a special event permit. I don't equate that to a taste of downtown. You know, somebody selling RVs is not a festival or something that brings the community together. It's something happening on a property that's not customarily what happens on that property for a temporary period of time. So, is there some gray area in here? Yes, you have to read them together. But neither the short-term business nor the special event permit are in Title 18. Those are Title 4, so you have to read Title 4 with Title 18. So back to Title 18, on the temporary use permit, again, back when you were looking at Title 18, you said, let's put this on a back burner, come back to it. We came back to it in February. You gave direction. We're now here to introduce an ordinance to make the changes that you directed in February. Per Municipal Code 18020451, you have the authority to amend the code. The Planning Commission conducts a public hearing and they make a recommendation to this board. The Planning Commission did have that hearing on May 28th, 2025, and they recommended by a vote of 6-0 with one person absent that they could make the findings and recommended introduction of this ordinance with 2 comments. One was the version they received had some inconsistency, and that was leftover inconsistency that we'd never brought up to you in February about the zoning district. So that's been corrected on page 602, section D of the ordinance that you're looking at. It now says a temporary use may not exist, may not occur in a basically a non-residential zoning district. I had a concern, and the Planning Commission agreed with my concern, but the DA's office did not agree with my concern about the use of the word entity versus person. But I agree with the DA's office that entity includes the term person. Therefore, the term entity is okay because to try to clarify would be create conflict. So although Planning Commission brought that up, and they brought it up because I brought it up, and since entity includes person, that does not need to be changed. And with that, I'll answer any questions, but you're just being asked to introduce this ordinance, and hopefully you agree it reflects what you asked for in February.
So I'm still going to just start with, I'm not overly positive that we even needed something in Title 18 that you couldn't handle in Title 4. And I think that's really what I'm getting to is, why do we have so many avenues unless you're telling me there's something, what is in Title 18 that you couldn't accomplish under the special event in Title 4? And that's really what my concern is we're trying to, when we do all these regulations and when we started this activity 4 or 5 years ago of saying we were going to make our code easier and right? And so and that's really what my consternation is. Why? When I read through this is, why do I need this in Title 18 instead of I'm not normally this business in this location and I want to do something for up to 60 days. I'm going to come in and see you and get a special event permit. And don't you go through the same processes? Are you in the right? It's normal in Title 4, you could say, are you in the right zoning district? Is it allowed there for me to even issue you a permit? So tell me the why I have to have the Title 18 action and I can't just handle it all in Title 4.
Okay, and we're going to go back to that second slide where it talks about a temporary use permit, and this is generic, is a use that would typically not be allowed in that zone. So going back to reading Title 4 with Title 18. Title 18 is regulatory, Title 4 is licensing. So we have to start there. So regulatory is, what's the rule? If I want to do this, what's the rule? Am I allowed to do this? And the planner is camped out in Title 18. So it comes in, and this can sound a bit bureaucratic, so I'll apologize first, but I just need to illustrate how the flow chart works, if you will. So what's going to happen is somebody applies for a business license and they go to our business license division. That's just licensing. They don't have teeth. They're not regulatory. They are going to route that application to the regulatory agencies. And those regulatory agencies include the planning division. They may give it to the building division if, say, it's a circus and there's going to be tents and stuff like that. And although they probably wouldn't, because that's a little different, they'll give it to the fire department. And so they're going to the business license division will route this application to those regulatory agencies. Those regulatory agencies will then open their rule book and say, what rules do I have that apply here? So if we have a short-term business license, well, we no longer have the rule about only 2 times a year, no more than 30 days. You don't have those rules that you have in Title 18 with the temporary use. So, but the two complement each other, and they mirror each other so closely. I can see where you're like, well, wait a second, this seems a little redundant. But Title IV has a very different function than Title 18, and Title 18 gives you the authority to have teeth and rules and regulations that then get applied when somebody applies for the business license through Title IV.
So I have no teeth. So let me say it even differently. So who gets one under Title IV and then I have no teeth about 60 days or those kind of things? So if I'm just going to do a Title IV application, I can do it as much as I want.
Title IV
many
is just a
times a year.
license. So if we don't have a rule, then, for example, if you were going more than 60 days, then that means we wouldn't categorize you as a short-term business. We would categorize you according to one of those other 6, and we would look at the 6 and decide which one best described what you're doing. That said, that's only the license, and that's just collecting a fee. That's not regulatory. The business license person, they work out of Title IV. So what they do is they receive an application for a business license. They know what the fee is because the fee is right there in Title IV, but they don't have any rules to fall on. So then they route it to the people who do have rules, like the fire department, like the planning department, the health department. Those people go into their rule book to see what the rule is, and the rule for planning is in Title 18, so that's the value of having the rules related to the temporary use permit. Because and just using the ones we talked about today, this means if you're going to do a temporary use, you're limited to 2 times a year, no more than 30 days per event, no more than a total of 60 days. And none of that will be part of the business license because the business license doesn't have isn't regulatory. So I don't know if I'm answering your question, but the two complement each other.
So I'm just trying to make sure that are both things always happening no matter who it, I'm still trying to understand the difference between a special event and a special use or a temporary use. And so if I'm a temporary use, I get teeth because I get a Title 18 rule. So
Right.
we're just going to put it out there. Let's put it out there
I hear
clean.
ya.
Farmer's market. What permits?
Short-term
and-
business.
And what did it have to do? Did we have any teeth or any opportunities, or they're just
They were a
off and
short-term
around?
business.
And what's the difference? They operated 15 days. That's what I'm trying to get to, is I'm not understanding the.
Exactly. And
difference.
admittedly, there is a gray area. I'm going to use farmer's market has a business license for a short-term business. It is not considered a temporary use. It is a short-term business. Is that perfect? I'm not sure. That's how it's been for years, and we just have not altered it. An easier example is those RV sales over at Gold Dust West. I think if you look at the RV sales over at Gold Dust West and you compare that to a Taste of Downtown, and you're sitting in my chair and you have to decide what to call what, I'm calling a Taste of Downtown a special event. I'm not calling it a temporary use because it's just going to be there for a night and leave. It's just an event. It's a fair. Then, and that's in business license, they call it a special event. From a zoning perspective, it's on the right of way. It's not even establishing a land use. because it's just there for a few hours and it leaves. Then, and keep in mind, Title 18 is land use. When we look at RV sales for, say, 5 days over at Gold Dust West, well, they're kind of affecting the land use there. They're set up in a parking lot. That parking lot's there to serve the primary use. That site is developed based on codes, including fire code, to make sure that the fire trucks have access to the buildings. You have to make sure this temporary event's not compromising any of those codes. It's there for a period of time, but I'm not going to call that a special event. I don't think it is a special event. It's not attracting the community at large. It's attracting people in the market for an RV. And short-term business, if somebody came in, again, that's typically your pumpkin sales, your Christmas tree sales. We would just categorize it and charge it accordingly.
So what is the pumpkin sales or the Christmas tree sale? Is that
From a zoning perspective?
is it a temporary use or a special event?
Would we? Oh, never a special event.
Okay.
Temporary, again, temporary use would never, a temporary use is pretty much never a special event. And the reason a special event doesn't even hit the radar, I don't think, in Title 18, because a special event is not a land use. It is something that happens for a couple hours and goes away. You're not establishing a land use. If you have a softball game at a park, the land use is a park. It's not a softball, and you just, or you have a dog show at a park. That's a special event, but the park's still a park. So I wouldn't call a temporary use a special event. A special event, I don't think creates a land use. I think the thing that was there first is the land use, because the special event's just a couple hours.
Okay. Supervisor Giomi?
I think part of the other thing that maybe differentiates it is the temporary use permit is generally geared towards sales, right? I mean, to me, that's the other part of it. It's a commercial enterprise. Now, I mean, the farmer's market is
I'm
too.
going to get you on that
So,
one. Yeah.
I get
Taste
it.
of Downtown, I agree with.
I get it. Taste of Downtown, the car show that just happened, the motorcycle event. I think those are very
nonprofit.
clearly special events. What would we categorize? What if we decided, say, in conjunction with Nevada Day, to do a craft show similar to what Sparks does for the Rib Fest, where we have a bunch of booths down Curry Street? And that lasts Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It's not a couple hours, it's 3 days. Or like the Candy Dance Festival. Where would you slot that?
Candy dances.
And again, I'm going to answer in an indirect way. Okay.
That's helpful.
But I'm going to get there, so stay with me.
Okay.
Okay, so when we look at land use, you're typically looking, I'm not going to say you're exclusively looking at private property, but we look at land use. So let's look at Curry Street. What is Curry Street? Curry Street's a road. At the end of the day, it's a road. Has the board authorized that road to be shut down for a period of time, whether that period of time is 3 hours or 3 days? It's still a road. You allowed it to get shut down hypothetically for some type of community event. That community event, I'm going to say, did not stop Curry Street from being a road. Curry Street's still a road. It didn't change that land use. It's still a road. You're just allowing this special event to occur in that road. If we look at, I want to go with the dog show, I think, instead of farmer's market, because it's just an easier illustration. If we look at the park, what happens at a park? People go to a park, they have a picnic at a park, they walk around at a park. If you have a dog show at a park, the dog show takes over the park, right? It's still a park, but we have this special event happening at the park. It didn't stop that use. Now the casino. Okay, we have a casino. All of a sudden, we have all these RVs there doing RV sales. Is that a special event? Did we just change that use? And it's kind of weird. It's still a parking lot, but all of a sudden the parking lot's not available as a parking lot. But that road wasn't available either. So that's why it's a bit of a gray area. So with a private property, when we see a request to change the use on that property or bring in another use for a period of time, and we had it over at, did we do it at Bank of America? Was that temporary use? No, that wasn't. Okay, that wasn't a temporary use. But it's rare that we have these temporary uses. We're spending a lot of time talking about temporary uses. I think we maybe have 2 a year if we even have that.
Well, maybe
But
that's the
yeah.
key, is to add language that, when it's on private property.
Correct.
Maybe
Is
that's.
this a private property
maybe
versus
that's
public?
We could do
The
that.
solution that
Right.
satisfies
that-
what you're talking about. And
Right, and the zoning
Right.
tends not to apply on rights of way because a
Right.
right of way is a right of way and you don't have land
That's the solution
development
and
on a right of
clarifies
way.
what we're talking
And then
about.
the people will know, oops, I'm on private property, I have to go this route.
Mm-hmm.
I'm on public or right of way, I'm going this route.
I mean, that seems like the simplest solution.
Okay.
I
I'm
do,
good with that, because it doesn't happen that often, to be
Right.
honest.
the person entity thing,
Mhm.
I thought I understood, and then you made a comment here, and now I'm not sure I understand. Because if I look at 592, right at the very top, you use the word person. So shouldn't we, if we're going to say entity, shouldn't we say entity all the way through?
Your ordinance, I think that's what was attached. Your ordinance,
592.
Oh,
Okay.
601 starts ours.
yeah,
Is it
yours is
clean?
601. Let me find the, and
What
I'm,
is- Oh, that's,
That's the
okay.
deleted language, right, I know.
That's what I,
601.
sorry, 592 is one, or number 2. Hold on. Well, no, it still says person.
Okay. Under,
So 601,
mhm,
18.02.0459,
mhm.
number 2,
Oh,
a
number
person may request. Wouldn't it be an entity may request? Or is it a person on behalf of an entity?
Dan, what do you think?
I got you.
I think that's something that Hope was addressing earlier today. I made that drafting decision that because the term person is already defined in the preliminary chapter, it would be a redundancy to refer to it as an entity because a person already captures the term entity. So if you were to say
Dan-
a person or entity, that would actually be a redundancy.
Dan, that's not what he's bringing up. If you look on page 601, the word person is used.
Right here, 601.
601
First,
of the
right here.
packet, page 1 of the ordinance.
Sorry. It's here.
A person may request.
Right. And it should that be an entity may request? Yeah, it's person, because person's definition includes an entity.
So the definition of person
Is
is an
everything.
entity.
Correct. So
So if just as an, I just want to make sure, so if I come in as a representative of ABC Motorhomes, and I want a permit for October, and then Lori, who's my business partner from ABC Motorhomes, comes in for one in November, and then I come back in December, it's going to be one, because it's the entity.
that's correct. So
One
for
60-day.
clarity on the record,
Right.
I will attest to the fact, because it's interesting, that this was almost a verbatim conversation that Hope and I had, a couple of months ago. You probably were,
Yeah, no, the
and that's
room
fine.
is- The room is bugged, just so you guys know, yeah.
So there is a preliminary definition of that term person.
Okay.
That applies code-wide.
Right, that's,
So to every title.
okay,
Right.
okay. I'm fine with that. I think it makes sense if we add the word private property, and then it focuses it, in my opinion, back to
That-
zoning.
That's a Title 18 issue, is
Yeah,
because it's private
focuses it back to
property.
zoning.
Mhm.
We just got to figure out where to put that, Dan.
We can have the lawyer do that.
Okay.
I think that helps me, and I appreciate that, because I really want the public to have a clear understanding. You're this kind, if you're in our right-of-ways, you're using a road, you're hosting a taste of downtown, that's this kind. But you want to take over an area of private property that it is not normal for that activity to occur. Now we're going to let you temporarily do it. That's a land use, and so that makes sense? Okay.
Well,
Okay, Supervisor White.
it sort of makes sense until you consider
Oh,
how the Nevada Day operates. They operate on at least 2 private properties as well as the right-of-ways. The activities that go on in the parking lot at Carson Mall are Nevada Day activities, as well as what they do over at Max Casino parking lot. So how do you deal with Nevada Day?
You can have a special event. We can go back to that definition. It's on public or private property. I call Nevada Day a special event. And I mean, it's interesting to have the
Short duration.
hypotheticals tonight or this morning, but we interpret code every day. And I think probably the right thing to do at this point is I agree with you on temporary use can certainly be private property. And then I think as part of Title IV, and we do need to look at Title IV anyway, we look at some of our descriptions in Title IV to see to make sure they're working and we're not interpreting too much and that there's a level of transparency that we tried to get in Title 18. Your points are all really well taken. And I mean, the mayor was absolutely challenging me on everything outside this meeting. So I get it. It's like I'm planner on the hot seat, but
I think that this board is already as a priority. Title IV is next, and I think that fits, you know, for our cleanup and for everything that we're working on. As you recall, Title IV is on our next list, and so we're going to tax poor Hope shop again to really, like you said, clean them up. But I think a great solution for this one right now would be to add it, since it's zoning, it's about private property doing something different than it normally would do.
right. I think the slight nuances will just clarify it's private property because zoning applies to public property as well. So I don't want to imply that zoning doesn't affect public property. So yeah, we can definitely include something that limits a temporary use permit to privately owned land.
Okay, has anybody else got any other questions? Let me have any public comment. Anybody else got an idea? No? Okay. Mr. Hohen, before we take action, may I have the ordinance title, please?
Bill 106, an ordinance relating to zoning, establishing various provisions relating to temporary use permits, repealing other provisions relating to temporary use permits as a conforming change, and providing other matters properly relating thereto.
Thank you so much. So would anyone like to take a stab at a motion? We can just ask the district attorney to make the conforming change for private property.
You're pretty close to just having made it.
Yeah, huh? Okay. You want me to?
Go ahead.
Okay.
Almost did it.
So I move to introduce on first reading Bill number 106 with a conforming changes to be made to make it applicable to private property. And the district attorney will make those changes.
I second.
All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say no. Let the record reflect it was unanimous. Thank you. And thank you, Hope, for the, yeah, it's good for you though, right? Because it really does make us, what I always want to do is to pretend I'm the public, right? And I want to be able to read these and go, I know what I'm supposed to do. Doesn't mean they're always going to get it right, but it helps if they at least know what direction they're asking for and where they're starting. So thank you so much for that. Okay, we're now on to agenda item 20, our non-action items. Does any Supervisor Giomi?
Just a quick CTA update. You heard about the 3D cultural corridor that Douglas Lyon Story Carson got. They've they're going to start branding it the Dust and Wonder Trail. Dust and Wonder Trail Art, Culture, and History. And they've hired a executive director by the name of Krista DeNeo. That was through a bid process, so she is on board. CTA is, although the grant was for multiple county, CTA is the lead agency. And Krista will be working with the team that they put together to manage that 3D cultural corridor. She has robust history in arts and education programs, and including being an artist in residency over time. So she's on board. A couple of other events that happened recently that drew quite a few people. Early May, an organization called Battleborn Blades, which is a fencing organization, drew close to 100 male participants from 10 different states. and maybe between 100 and 200 spectators over Memorial Day weekend. And on Labor Day, they'll have close to 100 female fencers in a women's tournament. And that's at Fuji Park. And so I didn't get down there this year, but I went last year, and it's just like you see it on TV. It's pretty impressive, and they're very, very good. And Supervisor White may discuss this a bit, but Dark Corners Creative, it's an organization that did the Halfway to Halloween event in concert with the prison and CTA. It was May 16th to 18th. I suspect we're going to see it again in October if we can make it work, or they can make it work. 2,200 people basically capped at the number of people that could attend, and estimated total visitor direct spend by the CTA of close to $150,000. So really good event. In my mind, anything we can do there at the prison is a great idea. It's just a great, community resource.
The CTA is participating in our September event, Sparrows out of Canada. It's a locksmithing convention.
Yes, and that I had mentioned previously. That's another great event. And finally, in the arts scene, some of the arts and cultural directors in the region are working on doing a mural, what they're calling a mural highway or a mural loop. There are communities in Nevada, other than Carson, that have done public art wall murals. Battle Mountain's doing it, Winnemucca's done it, Fernley's doing it, Sparks, Elko, Wells, Lovelock is showing interest to come on board, and Ely as well, and they're looking at doing a loop. So it would be like a mural highway loop that could be done from any of those places, basically around Interstate 80, down to Ely and back on the loneliest highway, US 50. I think it's a great idea. More of these communities are doing these music and art festivals. The most recent was just in Winnemucca, and a lot of the same artists are coming to each, and they're, in my mind, the great thing about it is they're pulling from the history of the whole region. So you're seeing a lot of thematic events with Native Americans, with the Basque culture, with their history in mining, with the railroad. All of that sort of moves through the whole state. And so it's pretty exciting to see. So that is it for me. We had a CTE meeting, toured TRIC, the Tahoe Reno Industrial Complex, and their water system and water issues are quite unique out there. There's a lot of people's info is sitting in a bunch of data centers out in Story County, because there are a lot of data centers out there, and more coming. That's it for me.
Okay. Mr. Martell?
Thank you, Mayor. Just real quick, as I mentioned last meeting, the treasurer and his team have got out the notices. They actually went on a little bit early, so thanks to the treasurer and their support team there. All the residents either should have gotten or will get very soon their yearly tax bills. And as I mentioned last time too, the clerk and the treasurer cooperated on the backside of their notices. You'll see where you have that opportunity to go on the website and sign up for that title recordation protection. So please, when you get that notice, take a look at that. And that's, again, no tool is perfect, but that's another tool in the toolbox that our residents can use. And then lastly, for me, wanted to let everybody know that as discussed at the board, coming up next month, Hope and her team, the Community Development Department, are going to do the final outreach, if you will, at the library to follow up on the master plan and the zoning, give residents an opportunity to come in and look at any potential conflicts, make sure that residents are clear on what happened on their property. If there's any questions, that'll be the last opportunity to fine tune that and bring that back to this board. Those meetings are all going to be held at the library, Monday, August 11th, noon to 2, Tuesday, August 12th, 5 to 7 p.m., and then Saturday, August 16th, 10 to noon. And there will be public notices as well, but I just want to take this opportunity to kind of put that out there. And if people want to schedule their schedules, they can do that. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I don't see anyone else. I will just, for the record, to mention Supervisor Horton and I had the privilege of working and hopefully together. We're pretty good at this art stuff. Curtis and I kind of got it down, but hope you're enjoying. Check out the utility boxes that now on, we've got 6 of them along various areas of Main Street, so take a look, and hopefully, again, that just is brightening up our community. We've got 6 of them done, one right across from McDonald's on Winnie and Main. Anyway, that's another project. Anna is really doing a bang-up job with the Parks Department with arts, and so just thanking my partner down there for his good work. But that's all I have, and there is absolutely no public in the public to give me a comment, but I will legally and technically ask, is there any final public comment? Okay, seeing none, if there's no objection, we are adjourned, and thank you for a good meeting.